Hey, what's going on, everybody? Hoovy 186 back again with another video, and we're gonna be talking about UFC 193. I went to this event with a couple friends Saturday night. The show overall was okay. The first match, I forgot who Stefan Struve was fighting, but that fight sucked, and I'm not really a big fan of Stefan Struve, so it is what it is there. Let me see. Second fight was Uriah Hall versus I forgot the dude's first name, but his last name Whitaker. There was a moment in the fight where Whitaker punched Uriah Hall right in the eye, and I don't know if he meant to sell it as a poke in the eye, or the referee just kind of just assumed because he was kind of favoring his eye and kind of turned around. But I didn't think that was really cool. But Whitaker won the fight anyway. Mark Hunt basically punched the shit out of Bigfoot Silva with like a mean shot right in the temple. And the co-main event, Joanna Jędrzejczyk versus Valerie. I think her last name is Latoni. I think that's it. I think that's how you pronounce it. It was a good competitive striking battle. Joanna had the biggest had perhaps the highlight strike of the night with that gorgeous front kick right to Valerie's face. But Valerie stood in there and she traded back and forth. But Joanna's her striking is just was just too good, and it went to a decision. Um, but the main event was insane. Now, I was telling a couple of my friends that pretty much that Holly Holm, while she didn't look good in her first two fights in the UFC, she has the striking accolades. She has the fighting pedigree to give Ronda Rousey a different look. You see, like the thing that a lot of the the women's fights resort to is like it'll resort to slugfest, you know what I mean, or clinch battles where they'll engage, they just start slugging each other, and it makes great, it makes for great, awesome fights. But it's also not the way that Holly Holm fights. She's more of a I don't want to say a counter striker, but she likes to she uses the distance game, likes to use the jab, likes to use the oblique kicks and stuff like that. So it's a very different challenger to someone like Ronda Rousey, who stand up, at least up to that point, was getting better, and she was pretty much knocking people out her last few fights, especially the vicious knockout to Bates Correa. But I think what that fight showed ultimately was just Holly Holm's stand up pretty much exposed Ronda Rousey, and frankly exposed the division also. Like, she basically just from the jump, really caught her with a couple really good shots with a couple of jabs. Um, there were two moments where they clinched. One of them they went to the ground. Once they got to the ground, I was thinking to myself, okay, all right, I think Ronda may have this, because she was in prime position to do kind of like an armbar type, but Holly Holm fought it off. They got back up, and then they clinched again near the end of the round, and Holly Holm actually reversed it and got on top of Ronda for a little bit. And you could just tell that near the end of that round, Ronda looked gassed. I don't know if I don't know. Obviously, part of it was due to her, kind of being the pursuer and trying to catch Holly, and Holly kept catching her. But also, I think partly because one of those jabs that she hit really hit her flush right in the face, and she never really recovered after that. Like the second round, it was like the moment when I knew that Ronda Rousey lost the fight was when she tried to throw like a left hook to Holly, and Holly completely ducked it, and Ronda like ran right to the middle of the octagon, and Rousey just looked behind her and just kind of like moved forward, and then they got into a little clinch, and Holm kind of pushed her down, and then guided her that left kick right in the face, and it was over after that. I mean the place where we were at, the restaurant I went to, we were going nuts. I mean, for one, it was such a beautiful kick that Holly Holm threw, and and then just the her reaction afterwards, and it was just insane because I think because they obviously before the fight they were showing the preview, and they showed the little scuffle they had at the weigh-in, which came out of nowhere because before then they were pretty cordial with each other. Like, they were really cordial to each other, really nice to each other. Holly Holm definitely comes off as a really nice, sweet person, and and despite some of her beefs with, obviously, her legendary beef with Misha Tate and the whole thing that happened with Bates Correa. I mean, Ronda Rousey has shown a lot of respect to her opponents. Like, she's not she doesn't come off, at least not to me, as this prick, this all right, I'll just use it, a bitch, like people kind of make her out to be, even though, like, I mean, she does have those bitch tendencies, but I mean, who doesn't have that? You know what I mean? So the bitchy moves and stuff like that, but everyone has that. So basically just watching the fight and watching her crumple down. And I told my friends this, that before the fight, that the only way I thought Holly Holm was going to win was if she kept distance and caught Ronda with a big time shot and finished her off in the first round. Because I initially thought I picked Ronda Rousey to win because I thought that I didn't think that she was gonna be able to keep distance for too long. You know what I mean? And also I had a couple of her fights that Holly Holm had. I used that against her because she didn't look good in those fights, even though she did win those fights. But she didn't look good in those fights. But I mean, she looked amazing here. Like, again, with that, with that beautiful left kick. I mean, it really was insane. Like, it was awesome. It was an awesome, awesome night. It was a great finish to what I thought was a okay card. Probably what's next is like, well, before I go to what's next, I'll talk about kind of like some of the other stuff that is going on. Now, there's a lot of talk in the Rousey camp about her. Obviously she had some issues with her mom and her manager, and her manager filing for bankruptcy. There's been a lot of hearsay about that, and I've heard a couple people say that she didn't look good at the weigh-in. I can't tell these type of things, but ultimately what happened with Ronda was that she just got she wasn't able to close the distance on Holly. She got a couple good shots in on Holly, but Holly was able to compose herself and move away and start hitting her from a distance. And and Ronda Rousey, like, she's not used to that. She's not used to fighting that style, fighting someone who fights that way. Especially when you have your last couple fights last like 90 seconds in total. Like, you're not used to being patient. You're not used to having to wait and wait for an opening. She kind of just rushes in, and I know her opponents have done it too to her, and she's been able to capitalize. So it's just a matchup issue, and it is what it is, man. Like, there's nothing. I don't think that it had any much to do with a bad camp. I don't think the pressure got to her or nothing like that. All those things could be a factor, but at the end of the day, the biggest factor was that Holly Holm just kicked her ass. Like, that's just what it is. Now, I mean, what's next for both? They're talking about trying to do a rematch, maybe at UFC 200, which is supposed to be around July. And hey, man, listen, hey, it doesn't matter to me. Ronda did say before the fight that she wanted to take time off. Obviously she has a movie coming out. She has a whole bunch of projects that she wants to do. But that is what it is. Now, if somehow if for whatever reason Ronda Rousey can't make it before then, or Holly Holm wants to take a fight before then, I do think it does open up the division again. And just because she kind of destroyed Ronda Rousey doesn't mean that the other women fighters don't stand a chance. Like I definitely can see someone like a Misha Tate beating Holly Holm. The thing is that can they capitalize on striking? Can they be more patient in their striking? So so that Holly Holm doesn't, kind of doesn't, pick them apart like she did with Ronda. You know, what I mean, it's something that it's an interesting question to ask. And like with someone like Misha Tate, who I do believe is the strongest striker in that division. I mean, I can see her beating Holly Holm with a nice strike, knocking her down or whatever. But it's just a matter of being patient enough to withstand, to kind of to be able to close distance without leaving yourself open for Holly strikes. And there are definitely other girls on the roster that I can see can give Holly Holm a run for her money. But if Holly Holm performs like that every time out, no one's beating her. So you have that. As far as what's next for Rousey. Me personally, like, when you go on Twitter, you have so many people making fun of her. I've seen stupid comments from like 50 Cent and Donald Trump, and even I think even Lady Gaga tweeted something negative to her. Me personally, like, I don't necessarily feel bad for her, but like, I think one of the things that you notice is that there's a lot of people who like to tear down people who are successful, and that's that's not, I'm not cool with that. Like, people can do what they want, but like, people just like to just break people down, successful people down, and I don't know why people do that, but it is what it is. Anyways, yeah, that's pretty much it. I got a bunch of other stuff down the pipeline, just trying to get as much stuff done as possible. But anyways, this is Who We 186. I'm out.